Hello, welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we're doing on Sunday afternoon. And I have expelled him from Los Angeles. He's back in New York City, where some say he belongs. Tim Bontemps.
Hello, everybody.
Joining us from Dallas, Texas. I've expelled him from Los Angeles, and some say he's back where he belongs. Van MacMahon.
Howdy, partners. Never fear. Not going to be here long. I'm going to see some Los Angeles residents, though, heading down to Houston. The red hot. Look out for those Los Angeles Lakers. Got a baseball series against the Rockets.
Oh, you want to talk about Lakers Rockets? I thought you were going to have your backup and ready to go here about Shea chasing the 20-point streak at the end of this Thunder.
Oh, no, we can get to that. Listen, now I didn't see any intentional fouling. Didn't see any purposely missed free throws. Saw one from Austin Reeves, but that was to help win a game. But
he said he learned it from watching the Heat. He said he learned how to miss free throws.
Luka had a pretty famous one, too, during his 60-point triple-double.
Sure did.
Exactly, the dance. But no, Shea's not immune to the occasional stat chasing. It's just a little bit more within the flow, I would say.
Yeah, well, AJ Mitchell, I mean, well, first off, the Thunder, we were behind by like double digits to the Timberwolves on Sunday afternoon, which we'll talk about in a minute. They came back and won easily. But Shea started the fourth quarter when he sat out. He had 10 points when he came back in with about 7 minutes left, and the game was, it was a double-digit lead. But I actually don't think there was anything unethical, to use what the kids say, unethical about him getting to 20. It was actually kind of cool that he got it on a play where he got fouled and he fell down in front of the Thunder bench, and the whole Thunder bench came over to celebrate with him that he was going to get his 20. I thought it was endearing, but I know we're not allowed to have fun during games, so
no, we're not.
It's okay.
We're not.
It's okay. And there was also the fast break where it was a 3-on-1, just in case Wallace was pushing it and Chet was out front, and Shea was kind of filling the lane. And Shea pointed it to Chet, saying, get it to him. So
that was ethical, although I think by the time he pointed, the ball was already on its way to Chet.
It was before. I'll give him credit for that.
Shea was going to get his 20, though, and he did after the win was secured.
I mean, listen, it took him hitting a three at the top of the key and then making this crazy shot over Ant, and he was getting off the ball while the Wolves were doubling him. Like, the Wolves were determined to not let him get that record, if nothing, or could extend that record, if nothing else. And it took him getting 6 points in 2 possessions at the very end of the game to do it. So,
well, AJ Mitchell he took several shots while Shea was over there waiting for the ball to get his points. AJ Mitchell, ethical basketball, he was not interested. He was like, when's my 20-point streak start?
It's good to see AJ Mitchell back on the court after
yes.
so many injuries this year. He's immediately come back and playing well again.
All right, we'll talk about the Wolves and the Thunder in a little bit. We are compelled that game on Saturday night, Nuggets at Lakers, one of the best games we've seen all season. Overtime win for the Lakers. The Nuggets snatching defeat from the jaws of victory thanks to some terrific plays by the Lakers under pressure. Say what you want about the Lakers.
Also, thanks to a bad whistle by the refs. Last 2-minute report.
I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, it says the foul with 9.2 seconds left that sent Austin Reeves to the free throw line. Spencer Jones had a clean strip. So, the
Nuggets have beef, eh?
Get your conspiracy theories ready. But still, the Austin Reeves play at the end was a little luck and, also awesome. Luka's first game winner for the Lakers, which honestly, that's sounds weird. They've got a clear pecking order now. Luka, Reeves, and LeBron, 2 games in since he's come back. But LeBron being that number 3 option, dive on the floor, dirty work guy, it's interesting.
Well, I think he's trying to play more of a role. He's trying to be comfortable with the ball less. JJ Redick talked about meeting with him and discussing this. I think it's way too early to form any opinions, but LeBron is trying to fit into a role. I will say that over the last couple of weeks, the plus minus, which has been used as sort of a whip against them, against those 3 guys, it has turned positive and is continuing to progress in the right way. And say what you want about the Lakers defense, it has been better over the last month to 6 weeks. And in the end of this game, the Nuggets had just multiple possessions where they could not get into their offense. And I think some of it was due to fatigue. Jokic,
I would say a lot of it was due to fatigue on both sides. Both teams were, both teams were, at the overtime, both teams were gassed.
Well, and some of it was due to Jamal Murray fouling out after a horrific game. Rough day or rough weekend for the Canadian national team backcourt.
Yes. I'm just going to say that there was multiple possessions where the Nuggets couldn't even get the ball to Jokic because the Lakers were defending it. And DeAndre Ayton, however you want to malign him.
Facts.
A lot of it fair. DeAndre Ayton had several key defensive plays. I do not know what's going to happen with the Lakers, but I will tell you this. They've won 8 of their last 10 and 5 in a row, and that has put them in the 3 seed as they embark on this 5-game road trip or 6-game road trip with 5 brutal games to start.
I'm not sure the first 2 are that brutal, to be honest with you, even though they were the team right behind them in the West standings.
Okay, well, first off, I just want to talk about the Reeves missed free throw. How many times could he do that out of 10 and have it fall that way again? Well, obviously he can miss it on purpose, but
it's a 1 out of 25, 1 out of 50 type of play.
I'd say maybe 1 out of 100. I mean, to have it ricochet off to the left to the perfect spot on the court where he could catch it and have a clear lane to get an easy, like, little 8-foot floater practice shot, like, you can't script the play better than that.
Well, but but it was scripted. The way that the box outs worked, where he missed it, how he missed it. A lot of guys, they put kind of normal arc on it to miss it, right? His shot never got above the rim, so he missed it to where it bounced down.
And it was clearly to the one side of the basket where they could seal the box out. The Spencer Jones had to come over to the other side. They did it perfectly, but to do that perfectly is a ridiculous series of coincidences in a row.
DeAndre, I don't know if it was Gordon or Jokic. Yeah.
It was Jokic.
Yeah.
But they brought Ayton into the game, and when Jones was on the other side, because they're like, he was like, I'll box out Reeves from this side. It was only Ayton and Jokic on that side, and they brought Ayton in, and he knew the play. He knew the orders was to seal Jokic to sort of a reverse box him out, top box him out. And it came off perfect. I mean, if I was the Nuggets, I would have been spitting mad about that game getting to overtime, much less.
Yeah. Oh, and they missed some free throws. They didn't execute well down the stretch.
Well, we've seen a couple games recently. The Cavs fouled up 3 against the Pistons. Dennis Jenkins got a half-court shot off, came back to bite him. This game,
it was 70 feet.
Well, whatever. But the point is, they got a fluky 3 shots out of it. Again, like the Lakers, not a great 3-point shooting team. It's far from a guarantee. Well, we've talked a lot about foul up 3, don't foul up 3. What's pretty clear is there's not a foolproof way to do this. And, we've seen a couple recent pretty high-profile examples of fouling not working.
But let's zoom out some with the Lakers, right? Like you said, this is 5 straight wins. I think it's actually 8 of 9. And when they started off, when they had 3 straight before a tough loss in Denver, it was 3 bad teams. And I basically said, look, their schedule is about to get a lot tougher. They've got a chance to prove something. The little 3-game win streak didn't prove anything. They've got a chance to prove something. Well, they played Denver tough. They beat the Knicks. They beat the Wolves. They beat the Nuggets. I mean, again, 5 games, 2 weeks, whatever it is, does not make a season, but there's no question that the Lakers have some serious momentum. They do with LeBron coming back. LeBron missed the Knicks game and the Wolves game, but with him coming back, he's been vocal, and you've seen it on the floor about, hey, I'm the number 3 guy. I've got to get in where I fit in. As he said, sacrifice, accept the role. I think the bigger concerns now are how does that group hold up defensively? Because offensively, they seem to have found something. Luka is cooking. Reeves is cooking. And, I told you guys, I think we've gotten to a point where Luka might actually be underrated, as weird as that sounds. And what got me really thinking about this is, Bontemps, when you mentioned Kawhi Leonard as a first-team All-NBA selection, I was like, hold on. I threw out a few names. I didn't even throw out Luka's name, and it was inadvertent. But there is this idea that Luka might not be a first-team All-NBA selection, and I think that's pretty insane. It's easy to focus on his flaws, and I talk about the petulance as much as anybody. Which the petulance leads to, big time defensive problems, and that's a fair subject. However, the guy is leading the league in scoring on very good efficiency while averaging 8.5 assists and 8 rebounds per game for a team that's a third seed in the Western Conference. If that's not a first-team All-NBA player, I don't know what is.
The thing about Luka, the reason, the criticism of him is that he doesn't get as much out of his gifts as he should because of these flaws. But that does not take away from the gifts that he has. He's one of the most talented offensive players I've ever seen in my life. And on the game winner, he was in a double team without anybody to screen. He was sort of, he avoided the trap. He got out of the trap, totally got the corner turned, and then went into his footwork where he creates space with his step back, going left.
The only thing I'll say about that is I think the Nuggets completely I don't think you're giving Denver way too much credit. Like they let him get to a practice shot like that. I mean, it was a great play by Luka, but like he had a wide open 15-footer for him. Like,
yeah, but he had to earn that by getting out of a double team and doing a step back.
I mean, it was a pretty bad double team. Bruce Brown comes over from the middle, and he just had the whole left side of the court to get to. It was a great play. He was incredible in the game.
WB.
He's back, baby. He's back.
WB.
I mean, for one thing, this guy's been crapping all over people all week. He should stop saying anything about me. And again, it's a credit to Luka, but the Nuggets, I thought they just botched it. Like, that was as easy a shot as Luka's ever going to get in that spot.
Okay, and he's averaging 32.5 points per game on like 62% true shooting. I mean,
his last two games are his first game winner and a 50-point triple-double. I'd say he's playing out of his mind, which is great.
Yeah. It is common that Lakers are underrated, so I can see why Luka is being underrated.
And dude, I had in one of my recent stops, I'm talking to an all-star, and this guy was making the case to me that Luka shouldn't be first team. And I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. If the Lakers are going to have home court advantage in the first round with this guy leading the league and scoring efficiently, I don't see how he could not be.
Well, some of this is also there's a lot of competition for 5 spots. Like, people are going to get really mad if you say Jaylen Brown isn't a first-team All-NBA guy. I don't think he is this year. But, like, I think you can make an argument. Cade Cunningham might not be a first-team All-NBA guy this year. He's been unbelievable, and Detroit's been unbelievable. Like,
Donovan Mitchell's deserving.
Donovan Mitchell has been amazing. Like, we're talking like 9 or 10 guys for 5 spots. Like, that's, somebody has to get left off. Anthony Edwards, we haven't even talked about him. He's having a great year, too.
I can't say this for sure, but I suspect if Bontemps did a straw poll of the All-NBA race, that Luka would be a strong participant of first team. I'm not sure that I understand what you're saying, MacMahon, if you're saying that the criticism of Luka has potentially clouded a little bit what has been a spectacular season. That's a fair statement. I do not think I think he would be voted first team All-NBA, and I don't think it would be close.
Well, I mean, to MacMahon's point, though, in the last straw poll, he was a distant 5th and barely had a Jaylen Brown for 6th. I would say that sums up where he is, which is a borderline first.
Yes, but I don't know how many of those guys are going to have 65 games. So
I think that maybe all the guys ahead of him, are certainly efforting to. Joker's efforting to. Wemby, we'll get to later, is very clearly efforting to. But like, Cade Cunningham's having a great year. He's not having a better year than Luka, and he's not a better player than Luka.
So here's the Lakers road trip. Actually, I want to get it in correct order. The first two are going to be, the Lakers are going to be in Houston. Is it Monday, Wednesday?
It's Monday, Wednesday. I got it here if you want me to read it.
I got it. Okay. So the Lakers' upcoming games, 6-game road trip, at Houston Monday, at Houston Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back in Miami. Yikes. I mean,
it's a tough one.
West to East back-to-back in Miami. The Heat did have their winning streak snapped by the Magic. Speaking of the Magic, they've won, 7 in a row, 8 in a row? That's where the Lakers then go play Saturday. So Rockets.
Well, in that Heat game, definitional schedule loss, 22 and a half hours later. It's a 9:30 Central, actually 21 and a half hours, a 9:30 Central time game. So it's a 21 and a half hour turnaround going east to west. So it's not a short flight. I think I would guess, 0 chance LeBron plays in the Miami game on second night of a back-to-back.
It might be his last trip to Miami. I don't think it will be.
Speaking of that, can I just preview something? Coming Thursday, my retrospective on the Heat's 27-game win streak from 2013.
Retrospective?
Well, I hope we see LeBron in that game because I always like to see him play. But that's the definition of a schedule loss. If they win that one, that's a hell of a win.
He just said retrospective. We got to celebrate that. Wendy's got patches on that sport coat on the elbows.
I had so much fun. I lived through it. I probably, out of the 27 games, I probably was at 18 of them or so. I was at the Garden the night they actually lost it. But there was some great stuff that happened during that 27-game win streak that I did research on and brought them all back to the surface. So it was a lot of fun to report that story. And unless you are like a Pacers fan or a Celtics fan, you probably will have good memories of that.
You know what's funny? When we were in Vegas, Bontemps, you probably remember this. I was fearful that I think it was like 16 at that point for OKC, and I was very fearful that they were going to get that thing into the 20s and threaten 27 and maybe even 33, and that I was not going to be home for large stretch there. And the Spurs took care of it, but that was also when there was a whole lot of talk. 74? Can it be 75, 76? How many will they win? Winning that many games is hard to do. Maybe we should wait until like January or February to get that excited about such a milestone again.
All right, so tough back-to-back, Rockets, Heat, and then day off, then at Orlando, who's one of the hottest teams in the league. Then day off, and then they finish it a week from Monday.
At Detroit.
Actually, they don't finish it there. That's the hard part.
They finish it there. They play the Pacers the last game.
Then they play the Pacers.
That does not count.
That's a soft landing.
So they've got a half game lead on Houston for the 3 seed. Now that victory over Denver was huge, obviously for many reasons, but also in tiebreak because that won them the tiebreak. And I will say there's something interesting. We'll be talking about tiebreaks more coming up. Minnesota is in really bad shape on tiebreakers. They basically have lost the tiebreakers pretty much to everybody or are behind in the tiebreakers to everybody. Minnesota is in bad tiebreak position. The Lakers' tiebreak position is pretty good. We'll see what happens with the Rockets games coming up. The tiebreaker is still up in the air there. But one thing to point out, and this is something for the Suns fans to keep an eye on. If you win your division, and there are still divisions out there, ladies and gentlemen, the Suns and the Lakers are fighting, quote unquote, for the Pacific Division title. That is a tiebreaker in the case of multi-team ties. In other words, if it's a 3-team tie, which there very easily could be. And so the Lakers getting that victory over Denver wins that tiebreak and puts them in, keeps them in position to lead the Pacific Division.
I think you're being very charitable with that being a battle.
Oh, really? You don't think there's a chance of a 3-way tie? And you don't think there's a chance that...
he's getting feisty.
No. I think you're being charitable saying the Lakers aren't going to win their division. That's what I'm saying. The Suns have a billion injuries. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the Lakers. That's what I was referring to.
Okay.
So I would say it's a big factor the other way, that the Lakers, like the Spurs are not being caught by Houston. The Thunder are not being caught by Minnesota and Denver. That is another huge feather in the Lakers' cap, that they're all but certainly, I think, going to win the Pacific Division, and that will trump any of these tiebreakers, which all could very easily happen with all 4 of those teams.
And this baseball series in Houston is big for a couple reasons. Number one, obviously, the Lakers have gotten themselves into the 3 seed now and want to stay there. The difference between 3 and 4, we can all figure out, is pretty significant, assuming OKC hangs on, which looks like they very likely will up 3.5 games. You'd much rather wait until potentially the West Finals to see OKC and deal with an inexperienced San Antonio team in the second round. Also, if they can get the Rockets a couple times, you might be bumping the Rockets down to 6. And I'm pretty sure of the possibilities here, the Rockets are the team that these other teams in this 3-6 mix would most like to see.
Yeah, I talked to an executive, a Western Conference executive this week who's on one of these top teams. This could be used against people in the future, but
you're vague enough.
They said the target is Houston.
Yeah,
Like
dude, Houston is
that's
not
the team that you
playing
want in
well.
the free.
Well, listen, one team has made the conference finals 2
I'm
years
just saying,
in a row.
like, they
The
could
other
win the
team
next
has
2
Nikola
games
Jokic.
and
Well, no,
everybody
but
looks like an ass.
look, Denver has Nikola Jokic and has won a title. The other team has Anthony Edwards, has made the conference finals 2 years in a row. Say what you want about how they did against the Thunder. They still got there. Last year, they smoked the Lakers in the first round. And Houston hasn't won a playoff series since James Harden was there. Like, of course they're the target.
They just lost by 25 to San Antonio, by more than I can do the math off the top of my head, 36 to Denver. They had to squeak out a win over the Pelicans at home. They lost at home to a Warriors team that can't beat anybody without Steph and Jimmy. I mean, the Rockets are really playing uninspired basketball right now.
There has to be a pecking order to these things. And obviously Houston, if the Lakers right now could have the 3 seed and then get Houston, a team that hasn't won a playoff series as a group, and San Antonio, a team that hasn't won a playoff series as a group, for a path to the conference finals, they would take that. Doesn't mean any criticism of anybody else, but that like, if they're the 4 seed and they have to play Denver or Minnesota and then the Thunder, that, like, it's just a much different path. There's just no question about that. And look, again, the Lakers, that was an incredible win last night. Set aside whatever you want to say about Denver, not Jamal Murray having a terrible game, having the game won at the end anyway, any of that. It's a great win. They've been playing really well. I think this goes back to what you said at the beginning, MacMahon. I'm still unconvinced about their ability to guard in a really high level spot in the playoffs with the roster they have. They're going to have to prove they can do that. They also are a team that's going to struggle to shoot the ball, especially outside of Austin and Luka. Last night, for as well as they played, they were 14 for 42 from 3. Like, those are the 2 questions. Can the other guys hit shots, and can they guard enough? If they can do that in the playoffs, they'll have a chance with their star power to win a series or 2. But it's going to need an inside straight of things to come together.
Coming into today, this will be different by the time the pod comes out slightly, but coming into today, let me go over the toughest remaining schedules, or the remaining schedule strength, and the tiebreakers just real quick. Of the teams fighting for 3 to 7, because the Suns are still sitting there, the Suns have the hardest of those schedules. The Timberwolves have the second hardest, although maybe it's a little easier after the Oklahoma City game is already off the books. The Lakers have the third hardest. The Nuggets have the fourth hardest, and the Rockets have the easiest schedule. So the Nuggets and Rockets have more friendly schedules coming in. When you look at the tiebreakers, this is a Timberwolves tiebreaker situation. 0-3 versus Lakers. 1-3, actually it might be 0-4 now, because I think that was before yesterday. 1-3 versus Nuggets. 0-1 versus Rockets. 0-2 versus Suns.
Wow.
And the Lakers, I was 0-3 versus Lakers. Sorry. Take that back. Lakers 2-1 versus the Nuggets. 0-1 versus the Rockets. So the tiebreaker will be determined in these 2 games. And 3-0 versus the Timberwolves. So the Lakers and the Timberwolves tie have that. So Lakers in pretty good. If the Lakers could sweep these 2 games, they would be in great position. But even if they split, it's not so bad. But if they do split, Houston gets the tiebreak. So that's something.
Oh, and Houston still has 2 games left against Memphis. They have a game left against Chicago. They have a game left against New Orleans. They have a game left against Milwaukee. They have a game left against Utah. They have a game left against Golden State, which is in April, but Golden State is a shell of itself from an injury standpoint. We'll see where Steph is at. They have a game left in April with Phoenix. Phoenix is also a shell of itself from an injury standpoint. We'll see where Phoenix is at. And they have a game, the last game of the season is a home game against Philly, which maybe they'll have some guys back by then, or maybe they won't. So, like, that's a lot of games when you talk about the easiest schedule down the stretch, where there's several games in there they should just, and again, they barely beat the Wizards. It took a bit of a save at the end, or the Pelicans the other day, but they should win a bunch of these games.
They're the quote unquote mark, which I hate even saying, because now that just like sort of guarantees they'll whip the Lakers the next 2 games. That's what happens in the NBA. But say whatever you want about how they're playing. They have the easiest schedule. They could easily get a higher seed than 6th. So, I mean, I was talking to another executive yesterday, and I was like, boy, how do you see like these teams coming down? I was like looking for a nuanced conversation about, between Houston, Lakers, Nuggets, like how is it going to, he's like, well, who's playing the most tankers? Whoever playing the most tankers is going to get the highest seed. And that's not the Lakers.
Hey, there could be some jockeying down the stretch. It might be teams might try to get to 6 instead of 5. I'll put it like that.
Well, I think it's going to be hard with how bunched up these teams are. And look, these teams have also been all over the place. I mean, we've talked about Minnesota all season. They've obviously had a bad week, but they've had some really high highs. And man's doing the up and down roller coaster motion for people listening. Like they've had some horrendous losses. We've talked about them all season. Denver obviously is getting healthy. Thought Aaron Gordon playing well in this Laker game was a huge thing. I mean, his 3-point shooting turnaround, by the way, as a totally separate aside, is one of the crazier things that we've seen in recent years. Like him becoming this knockdown 3-point shooter. It's a huge thing for them. But they've had some weird performances lately too. Obviously getting smoked by the Knicks. They barely beat the Jazz in one game. Like they've had some weird games. Houston's had a lot of weird, like you said, MacMahon, they've had a lot of weird games. I mean, these teams, everybody after the Spurs and Thunder has been very up and down at different points. And right now it's an up for the Lakers. And, if they could get these 2 wins against Houston, that would be pretty huge for their chances of really trying to lock in a top 4 spot and especially getting to that 3rd spot.
If you're a Rockets fan, you're saying, how come you're not talking about how the fact that the Timberwolves are only a game ahead of the Suns for the play-in? You're like, they've just, dropped some, they lost 3 or 4 on this road trip. And
I think all these teams it was a really bad road trip. And I think all these teams are really lucky Phoenix is so banged up. Like if they had Dylan Brooks and Mark Williams and these guys available, I would say they'd be live in it to get into the top 6. But I think it's just going to be hard for them to keep up.
Well, and they have the toughest schedule.
Yes. That's the other part. But the fact that they have the toughest schedule and injuries, they've had a great year, but I think it's a lot more likely they're sitting in the 7 spot, probably playing the Clippers. We'll see how bad this Kawhi ankle sprain is. But
Booker had a 40-point game. Yeah, the Clippers, right as we were thinking, like, oh, boy, what could they do? Then they get steamrolled by the Kings of all teams. And
Kawhi sprains his ankle late. We'll see what that...
It didn't look that bad. However, with Kawhi, I don't know.
Just got to say you don't know.
Exactly. Okay, so earlier on Sunday, today, when we're recording this, we talked about the Thunder with that victory over Minnesota. Minnesota was red hot in the second and third quarters of this game. Shea started the game off shooting 2 of 10. Minnesota has played. We had a stat before the game over the last 5 years. Now we're pushing it a little bit, but still, it's kind of the Shea era. The Timberwolves were 13-6 in the regular season against the Thunder. No one has had as many wins over them in that stretch as Minnesota. They were 2-1 this year. You remember the last time they played up in Minneapolis, and Ant hit that step back 3 to clinch the game over AJ. It was over AJ Mitchell, I think, or maybe it was Wallace. Casey Wallace was over.
That wasn't the same game that Finch got tossed from, was it?
I don't think so.
That I don't remember.
I don't remember. It might have been, but I don't remember for sure.
Because, Finch has absolutely been at the forefront of this critique. I'll call it politely. Critiquing.
Artful.
The whining, griping, critiquing. The way that OKC is officiated on both ends. He had the big thing last year where, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, they're hacking away on defense, and if you blow on Shea, he goes to the line on the other end. You've heard a lot of that. That's kind of been a theme. Early on in this game, it's as frustrated as I've seen Shea with the officiating in that first quarter. There's at least twice where he's like, seriously? And including the shot at the end of the quarter where, usually Shea's not a guy who usually says much at all to the rest.
Yeah, he's talked about this. He doesn't think it's productive.
Yeah, he was pretty miffed. I wonder if Finch and Finch, we talked about when Finch got tossed in the first quarter. This was in December.
It was the third loss of the year for the Thunder, not the last game they played in January.
Right, that's right. So Finch was that felt very calculated and plotted out. And I thought that they were getting away with some pretty physical defense on Shea today, which you can say, hey, maybe Finch's little lobbying efforts paying dividends.
Kendrick Perkins mentioned this during the halftime, is that when you're a star player like Ant, sometimes you can get away with now the one play in particular where Ant literally slapped him on the arm.
Yeah, the play at the end of the first quarter, Shea, was pretty heated and deservedly so. He got hit twice on the jumper. So
one thing I will say about this game for Minnesota, Julius Randle has been terrible by his standards since the All-Star break. There are people who believe that it's his reaction to being floated in trade discussions or rumors for Giannis. I don't know for sure, but I can tell you that before the All-Star break, this is before today's game. Before the All-Star break, he was averaging 22 points and shooting almost 50% from the field. In the 11 games since the All-Star break, he was averaging 13 points and shooting 39% from the field before today's game. And he comes out with intent and has a 32-point game today. So maybe this is him breaking out of his shell a little bit. We'll see. That could be a factor.
That would help.
But that's, considering how tight this all is, that's important. The Thunder are getting healthier. Isaiah Hartenstein is back. And AJ Mitchell, as we mentioned earlier, is back. Caruso, who had a hit.
I meant to ask while watching the game, Tim, is there any update at all on Jalen Williams?
I still don't have a feel. I made a point on, I think it was Monday, to watch his pregame. I did not see him doing anything explosive in his pregame workout. I didn't see a whole lot of accelerating off the dribble or the kind of things. I was basically, I was watching his pregame, trying to get a feel like, is he on the verge? And he didn't look like he was on the verge, So there's not been like any kind of official update. His reevaluation came and went, and they've just kind of kept it at radio silence. He'll be back at some point. I could not tell you when that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any team that has the ability to be patient, it's them. Now that AJ Mitchell's back, they've got Jared McCain playing, they've got Caruso, they've got Casey Wallace. They have all these guys that can play, but every game I watch the Thunder, I just see him sitting over there in some very expensive outfit. I keep wondering when he's going to play.
I think maybe unnecessary glasses on.
How about the gold grill? I mean,
the grill he hit 40 in a finals game. He could do whatever he wants. I'm just curious to see when he's back on the court.
No, and so it's obviously, look, clearly they brought him back too early the last time, right? And his hammy was aggravated in his second game back, which the shame was he said that his wrist was feeling much better, and he was in the midst of an unbelievable game when he got hurt again. He was 11 of 12 from the floor in 20 minutes in Phoenix. But at this point, like, they're 34-8 without him, and that's not to say they don't need him, but they can clearly manage without him during the regular season. They have a 3.5 game cushion over the Spurs, so that it's not too tight there. I think really what you're hoping if you're OKC with Jalen Williams is that he has enough time to feel like he's in some kind of rhythm going into the playoffs. That to me is the bigger, obviously his health first and foremost is the biggest concern. But other than that, like, you just want to make sure that he's got a chance to kind of get a little bit of a groove going, before April 19th or 20th or whenever they open the playoffs.
Well, let's be honest. Even if they're playing the Clippers in the first round, who've probably on a better streak lately than Phoenix, it's still really about, for them, getting to the second round anyway. So he's even got a couple more weeks to get going from there. But yeah, like, if it could end up being a positive for them if the guy ends up getting, obviously, right, like to have him out there, but if he comes in having had 35 or 40 games this season total played, you'd think he'll be pretty fresh and ready to go for a long playoff run, which, I had somebody early in the year, I don't remember who it was, say, look, you look at Indiana last year, they had all these injuries throughout the year. They got healthy late in the regular season, and it set them up to take off for this playoff run. Obviously, the Thunder are at the top of the conference, but with all the injuries they've had, maybe they'll end up having some fresher legs down the stretch than they would have otherwise.
I will say that Shea, I don't know how big of a feather it is for him for his MVP case, but the fact that he has still put up incredibly efficient numbers yet again without having, the balancing aspect of J-Dub, I think it furthers his MVP case. That's what I would say.
Jalen Williams has missed so far this season 42 games. AJ Mitchell's missed 23 games. Hartenstein's missed 22 games. Caruso's missed 24 games. Those are all real players missing a lot of games, and they're still chugging along. Yeah, they're not on pace to win 75 games, but they've continued to be awesome with all these guys out. And like you said, Shea's a guard shooting 55% from the field. He's having an incredible season.
Forget 55%. His true shooting percentage, and obviously it dipped with this 7-22 day against the Wolves. Going into today, his true shooting percentage was 66.9.
It's crazy.
That matches Steph Curry from his unanimous MVP season as the best ever for a guy scoring 30-plus per game.
And that guy hit 400 threes that season.
This is, just to be clear, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is about to become the first guy since Michael Jordan to have 4 straight 30-point per game seasons.
Yeah, by the way, 30 points per game, he's going to shoot over 50 in all 4 of those.
Yes, he is a historically efficient scoring machine. Obviously, when you break one of Wilt's records, you're getting an all-time great category. When you do, he joined an exclusive club last year, scoring champ, MVP, finals MVP. I mean, this guy is early in his prime and has already established himself as an all-time great.
And by the way, just real quick, because I just looked this up to double check it. So Michael Jordan led the league in scoring 7 consecutive seasons from 87 to 93. The middle 5 of those seasons, he shot over 50% every time. Yes, it's a different era. There were less threes shot then. Obviously, Jordan was not a great 3-point shooter, but that's the kind of people we're talking about. Scoring over 30 that many years as a guard, shooting it efficiently that many years as a guard. Again, just like anytime you could say Wilt in you is pretty good, anytime you could say Michael Jordan in you is pretty good. And Shai has a couple of those things.
Well, and honestly, that's why the free throw merchant stuff, it's stupid. And I get it, fans are going to fan and taunt and whatever. It's not the worst thing in the world, but the idea that Shai is a great scorer because he gets some kind of friendly whistle, dude.
Yeah, it's very silly.
Shai is shooting better than 60% on twos, and a ton of those are created off the dribble mid-range shots. I mean,
it's like the shot he hit today to get to the 20 points. I mean, the Wolves were doing everything they could to keep him from getting to 20. They were bracketing him. They're double teaming him. They're trying to get him off the ball. He hits that 3 to get to 17. And then the next time, a couple times later, he comes down. And Edwards, who's a terrific on-ball defender, who desperately, clearly didn't want him to get to the 20, knew what was going on, was all over him. And he hit an impossible step-back fadeaway jumper on the baseline.
19 feet in the air, that shot.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I will say 2 things. Number one, if you think you're going to bother Shai by calling him free throw merchant, I give you credit. So chant to your little heart's content. The second thing is, if you're going to complain about something with Shai, it's not the fouls that he gets to going to the line. It's the arm bar. If you're gonna petition for a change, stop letting him use the arm bar.
And by the way, that's something we've talked about this a bunch. I went to the referees thing in September. I asked about it then. All the great players are doing that. Giannis, Tatum, Shai, they've all perfected
Luka's
this.
great at it.
Luka's great at it. They're these guys are all big and strong and super smart, and they've all figured out, hey, if I do this, get a little space, get room to go up and shoot. I agree. I think that's the next thing that they need to change. And that's, again, not just a Shai thing. It's just to give the defender some level of chance to guard these guys, because otherwise it's impossible to guard any of them.
Well, they don't have to change. I mean, Luka used it on Spencer Jones last night, on the last shot. I mean, not dramatically,
Poor Spencer Jones. He got a game winner splashed in his face by Shai on Monday. Then Luka got him last night. Poor guy.
I did go back and look, since you mentioned that. That was the play that Spencer they said he didn't foul on was the play where it was controversial that it wasn't a 3-point shot. The Nuggets are up by 3. He inbounds and he fouls Reeves real quick. And the Lakers and their fans thought that it should have been a 3-point for 3 shots. And in fact, what the league said was not only should it not have been for 3 shots, it should have been for no shots. That's
sure.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty clearly not a shot, but either way.
It could have gone either way. I understand. All right, anyway, speaking of the MVP, the Shea, how about this quote from Victor Wembanyama? Now, Bontemps identified this while Wembanyama was still playing in France, finding these quotes that are low-key arrogant or confident.
Not low key.
Well,
just said in a polite way, but not low key arrogant.
All right,
extraordinarily arrogant.
Right now, my mind is on taking care of my body because I also want to win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. So I'm trying to press the gas from now until the end of the season. Really take care of my treatment, take care of my sleep, take care of my routine, and show up for my team.
Look, Victor Wembanyama from the beginning since he was 12 years old, has wanted to be the best player of all time. And has said that repeatedly, and to this point has largely followed through on the things that he's said. And as we've talked about, as you said many times, my favorite thing about him, beyond watching him play, which is always awesome, is this guy says outlandishly arrogant things, but says it in a very polite kind of, friendly demeanor. No. It just doesn't come off that way.
They're not outlandishly arrogant though, because they're factual.
Well, right? Yes, and they're also factual, but yes, he just says
it ain't bragging if it's true.
Well, yes, I mean but again, he says things that people don't typically say, and to your point, MacMahon, it's because he can do things that not only can't people typically do, people can't dream of doing for the most part, and it's one of the many things that makes him so awesome, and it's one of the many things that potentially has us set up for a pretty incredible era of basketball ahead, because this guy desperately wants to be the best and is not afraid to say it. And is going out there and doing it. And it's awesome.
And, this is a week where we still got almost a month left for the regular season, but Shea's going to be tough to catch for MVP. And this week where he breaks Wilt's record, where he hits the game, the dagger against the Warriors, the game winner against the Nuggets out of 35 points, 15 assists, no turnover, crazy efficient performance, crazy efficient breaking the record against the Celtics, hit some big shots there. It's going to be tough to catch him. I do think the only threat is the Spurs storming to the finish line and taking the top seed and Wemby doing what he's been doing. Let me just read to you his numbers from this home game or homestand. It's a 6-game homestand. He's
only played in 5. Yeah, sorry.
Right.
Sorry
he's
to
sat the one game against the Nuggets because there is, as he pointed out in his press conference after the game against the Hornets, there is one body part of his that has swelling right now.
That's not what he said. He said, he says one body part that's inflamed.
It's his ankle. Just to be clear.
Well, he had to clarify that. There was a good follow-up question from you.
It's his ankle. Anyways, the guy's averaging during this homestand 33 points per game, shooting 55 from the floor, 47 from three-point range, hitting 4.6 threes per game, and then doing his normal, 11.4 rebounds, 3.8 blocks, 1.2 steals, 3.2 assists. The guy's against the Hornets, he's throwing multiple lobs to Luke Cornett. I mean, he's all over the place. But dude, Wemby, I know Bontemps, you get mad every time you see him shoot those threes.
That's not true. It's not true.
USWB?
Don't say things about me that aren't true.
It's true, buddy.
Uh-oh.
You cannot put Victor Wembanyama in a box. You can't put him in a box. He's been telling us all along. And he is, I'm telling you, I think what we're watching is this guy just starting to grow into his offensive powers. He's already the most dominant defensive player maybe I've ever seen. And I'm not saying he's going to average 33 moving forward, but I'm saying that we are watching the revolution right now.
Well, listen, if Victor's going to shoot 47% from 3 and make 4.5 threes a game, then they're going to be able to do whatever they want. Honestly, if he's shooting at that level, then it's not some give back to the defense then, right? If he becomes a consistent 40% 3-point shooter, then it's just over.
Yeah.
Then just give up at that point. I think and if he is going to shoot 47% over a 5-game stretch, his numbers are going to be cartoonish like that, like even more than normal, because that does make him utterly unstoppable. I do think, as we've talked about a lot, the Kevin Durant quote of giving up a jumper is a win. It's because if he does the go-go gadget dunk arm thing, like that's 100% shot. And if he gets in a stretch where he is, if he's shooting 27% instead of 47% and he's making 2 threes a game, then you at least have a chance. That's all. But if he's going to shoot like this, good luck.
Did you see the dunk he had over Grant Williams? And Grant Williams, for some strange reason, jumped with him. And Wemby looks over his shoulders. He's jogged down the court and chuckled at him.
It's like watching a guy in a video game a lot of the time. It's just like you create this player in the video game and he just can do whatever he wants. I mean, that's what it looks like.
I truly believe that he and the Spurs have figured out something in terms of getting him good looks at threes and getting him volumes, because they're the threes he's throwing up now. He's chucking up 10 per game on this homestand. I think they're 10-2 now when he takes 9 threes. They're still undefeated when he hits at least 4 anyways, but they're a bunch of trailer threes. They're a bunch of pick and pops, and he mixes in just enough rolls to where, you got to be careful with that. Or fearful
I will say
of that.
He's averaging 7 free throws on these 5 games too. So he's not just only hoisting. He is.
But that's the other thing. Especially when he's got a big on him, and we saw this with Jalen Duren, we saw it with Moussa Diabate, and the three's that much of a threat, and then he's pump faking and attacking closeouts because they're so scared of him getting a decent look at a three. Those guys are in hell, and they're getting in early foul trouble. How many guys do you think Jalen Duren's had to guard in his life that could pump fake and go off the 3-point line? So, Diabate, these guys are bigs. And then we'll see come playoff time. There's definitely going to be teams that just try to put a wing on him and get under him and all that. We'll see how the Spurs deal with that. But, people in San Antonio will tell you this guy's the best player in the league, and they don't want to hear any argument. I'll argue SGA right now, but Wemby is, if he's going to be doing what he's doing offensively, there's not going to be an argument too much longer.
Well, and over these last handful of games, the last 5 games, he's 19 for 39 from 3, and so 39 total shots, and 29 of them have been catch and shoot shots, which again, that is what we have been talking about. The more times he is a play finisher, not trying to be a play creator, that is the ultimate end game, I think, at least right now. Maybe in the future he'll become somebody else.
Do you include attacking closeouts as play finishing?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, to some extent, yeah. Obviously, it's not like he's not allowed to dribble, but it's when he's trying to become a point guard is, I think, when the defense is really winning. But if it's hey, I'm I've said before, to me at least today, he is Rudy on defense, but obviously multiplied, best defensive player in the sport. And to me, the goal right now should be Dirk on offense, who's one of the best offensive players of all time. And as he's in his 3rd year in the league, he's going to get better handling the ball. He's going to do more than Dirk could at any point handling the ball.
I do thoroughly enjoy when he basically catches a block shot. So it's a block and rebound all in one swoop in motion, and then decides he's going to get out and start the break himself.
Well, yes, that is unbelievable. And that's different too. I'm talking about in the half court when he could get loaded up on and he can have little guys come in and steal the ball from him. Him in transition like Giannis is insane. It's 2 steps and he's at the other 3-point line. But yeah, look, if he's making catch and shoot threes at that kind of rate and 3/4 of his shots, at least according to Synergy, are catch and shoot threes, that's a good shot diet. And it's why the Spurs have a chance to buck the trend of all NBA history this year. Because history would tell you they're not going to win and they're probably going to lose earlier than later. But this guy is already an anomaly from all of NBA history, and he may be able to have them break past it.
The Dirk offensive comp is interesting. I think Wemby might be a little bit more of a lob threat than Dirk was.
Well, slightly, but I'm just talking about as a shooter. But yes, I mean, look, he's, again, the comparison there is two Hall of Famers, one of the best defensive players ever and one of the best offensive players ever. And that's what we're talking about, the guy's third season. It's completely insane all the way around.
All right. Monday night, March 16th, has been on the books as a very high attention game in Atlanta for weeks now. Everybody's been very, very focused on this night. It's been in promotions. It's been commented on by the league office. It's one of the most impactful. Yes, it's been one of the most impactful games on the schedule for the Hawks.
Sure has been.
Because it's the 9-win Hawks, Hawks winners of 9 in a row versus the Magic winners of 7 in a row. It's one of the games of the month in the league.
And they're going to have wings.
I mean, what an incredible foresight to have so much attention on this game. So the Hawks have won 9 straight games. I will say.
Can we just pause right there? So the Hawks have won 9 straight games.
But hold on.
Oh, USWB alert.
I'll let you say what you're going to say. I just want to point something out.
Sure.
I don't think I've ever seen a bit of schedule like the Hawks have had here. And I'm not even talking about who they're playing. I'll let you have that. Just hang on.
Yep.
This is their 11th out of 12 home games. So, okay, teams have stretches and schedules where they're home heavy. That happens. Not only have there been no back-to-backs in this stretch, in this stretch of home games, they've had 13 days off.
Yep.
13. Like, not only have they had all of these friendly home games, but they've had a chance to rest. It's been amazing. So it's not surprising that they're playing quite well. Okay, now you can say who they've been playing.
So since the All-Star break, they're 10-1. All right? This is their schedule of games. Start out the All-Star break. They're in Philly. No Joel Embiid, Paul George. They win by 10. They then go home to play Miami. They lose by 31. That's their only loss since the All-Star break. Here's who they played since
that was
then.
A back-to-back. Then back-to-backs.
It was a back-to-back the next night, yes. Yeah. But they win that game in the Philly. They lose the second night of a back-to-back by $1 million at home to Miami. All right, that's fine. Then they have the Nets at home. They win that one by 11. They have consecutive games at home against the Wizards. They win them by a combined...
With a day off in between. We have to relax.
Right, but then they won by 1 billion points. They then play Portland at home. Portland with no Denny Avdia. They win that game by 34. They then play the Bucks, have a couple days off in between. Giannis does come back that's Giannis.
They played one game in 6 days, and it was their one road game, but they got 6 days for one game.
They go to Milwaukee. Giannis is back. They win that game, going away by 18. They then come home and play Philadelphia, a pretty competitive game. That's the game Tyrese Maxey got hurt at the end of the game. They're one relatively competitive game. However, in the one relatively competitive game, no Vijay Edgecombe, no Joel Embiid, suspended Paul George. They're all missing for that game. Maxey's hurt by the end of it. Then they play Dallas at home, the Nets at home, and the Bucks at home again. Like, talk about the definition of the current NBA. This team has played for a month, is 10-1, and they've played basically no game against a competitive team the entire time.
Well, they're about to.
Right. And it's what makes this Orlando game so fascinating. Orlando is playing well. They've ripped off a bunch of wins. I think they're now I was going to double check. I think they're up to fifth now because Toronto's fallen off the map. And if Atlanta wins this game, they're now a game and a half out of fifth place in the Eastern Conference standings. Like 5th to 9th, because Charlotte's fallen off, is within 2.5 games. And Philadelphia, with all their injuries, is probably going to be at best 9th. So you're talking about Orlando, Toronto, Miami, and Atlanta all fighting for 5 to 8 in the East. And for an Atlanta team that was floundering for a while, obviously dealt with all the trade drama, everything else, this stretch of schedule, by taking advantage of it and not losing any of these games, has put them in a position to get up into the top 6 in the East, which we weren't talking about for months.
Which they don't control their draft picks, so why would they even think about doing nothing?
Right.
Neither does Orlando, by the way. Orlando, though, won 7 straight, and there's some tankers in there, but there's also, like, they just beat Miami, in Miami, I believe. And ever since Paulo and Jamal Mosley had that little, back and forth via their individual press conference thing, which basically confirmed everything we talked about. Of the word is there'd been headbutting between them. Paolo's been playing great in this 7-game win streak, averaging 26, 9 rebounds, over 5 assists. A massively positive plus minus. I think he's playing as well as this is as good a stretch as he's had. And, he had Mark Spears did a story on him where Paolo basically said, hey, I looked in the mirror at, when the All-Stars came out, and he was upset about it, but he's like, I hadn't done enough to be an All-Star. So,
Since from Joel Glass, PR guy for the Magic, 2 guys have averaged 25, 9, and 5 since the All-Star break, Paolo and Nikola Jokic. It's pretty good. And Paolo is also taken the 3rd most shots within 5 feet of the basket, and he's made 73% of them.
There you go.
Not settling for jumpers, to your point, MacMahon, right? Thing we've always criticized about him, you've led the way on that, is being a really inefficient scorer. Well, he's an absolute load.
Oh, he's a tank.
And if he's getting to the basket and scoring in the paint, that's a path to him getting to the kind of efficiency he needs to have to take a real step forward.
Whose stats are these for the season? 23 points a game, 10.4 rebounds a game, 8 assists a game.
Jalen Johnson, you always do this and think you can fool us. I mean,
1.3 steals a game, 50% shooting.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson.
The assists are what give it away. I mean, Jalen Johnson is 4th in the league, I think, at assists per game.
I don't know that, but sounds
fifth.
That could be right.
The guys he's behind are Jokic, Cade, Luka, and James Harden.
By the way, speaking of Atlanta should be as annoyed with the Tankapaloozas as anybody, because the Pelicans keep on sinking in the Tankathon because they're the only ones out of that group that are trying to win games. The Mavericks is zoomed by them. The Jazz, everybody zoomed by them.
First of all, they're like, I think, a half game right now ahead of Dallas in 6th. They've got Memphis doing an unbelievable tank job, the Grizzlies. They're flying into the race. I think they're going to wind up in 6th, ahead of Dallas, ahead of New Orleans, the way they're going. And Milwaukee has that 8-1 stretch where they win all those games without Giannis. Giannis comes back. They're playing right now against Indiana, obviously firmly in the tank race. I don't know if Milwaukee has won since Giannis came back. And they've now come back down to 9th. They could end up with the 8th and 9th picks in the
Just
lottery.
Just imagine if they had lost all those games when Giannis was out.
That's what I mean. They would be they'd be behind New Orleans right now. But they had this one stretch. It's crazy.
Got some cheeseheads sizzling when I declared the day Giannis was coming back that the Bucks would not win a single playoff game. I'll tell you a little secret. That's because I knew they weren't going to make the damn playoffs. They stink.
Well, actually, I'm going to check that while we're sitting here. They're down 3 right now at halftime to the Pacers. I suspect the Pacers will probably steal a loss from the
we have
jaws
no idea who the
victory.
Pacers are going to play in the second
half.
The
Pacers played Zubac 60 minutes in the first half. We'll see if he plays any more today.
He will not play 16 minutes in the second half.
That's my assumption. So let me just look at our quick game log here.
When's Adam Silver's next press conference? I think the finals will come 3 days before it.
So Giannis has played in 5 games since he's come back. 27-point loss to Boston, an 18-point loss to Atlanta, a win against Utah, shock of all shocks, a 15-point loss to Phoenix, and a loss to Miami on Thursday. So 1-4 in the 5 games since he's been back, and maybe 2-4 with 2 wins against tankers. So it's where we're at in the NBA right now. Just who's playing a tanker on the day. And then how hard are they tanking?
Cam Thomas's stats.
That's why, honestly, when you get 2 teams, like the Nuggets-Lakers game, it's like, oh, yes, 2 good teams trying to win. It's just pure
manna from heaven
basketball. And honestly, I got to go see OKC play both the Nuggets and the Celtics. Jaylen Brown's foul-baiting commentary post-game was pretty funny. In a game, he shot 14 free throws, and Shea shot none in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So are you ready? Are you ready for the I don't know what's going to happen in this game. Okay. The folks who listen and watch are going to know they can check this. It's halftime right now as we're doing this. We're about to wrap up here. Aaron Nesmith, this is going to be called the anti-Bam. Ready? Aaron Nesmith has 24 points in 20 minutes in the first half of this game. How many points and how many minutes will Aaron Nesmith end up with?
What's his career high?
0. He's coming off an injury. Got to rest him. Got to make sure he's feeling good.
Oh, I got to look up his career high. I want him to get his career high.
Let's just make a little. We'll have like a live prediction.
He's scored some in the past.
Oh, he's at 31's his career high. At least let the man get his career high.
Will he score more than 32 points in this game?
No. I'm going hard no on that one.
Will he play in the fourth quarter of this game? I'm saying he does not play in the fourth quarter of this game. And Zubac played 16 minutes. I say he might not play in the second half. We don't know. And it's all okay. And again, people who are tanking are not bad people. They're good people.
They're following the incentives.
People. Yes, they're good people making strategic decisions. They're not bad people.
We need to change the incentives. That's the problem. It's not the people doing it.
Yeah. All right. That was fun. Look forward to. Hope you're going back to your Houston roots there. MacMahon.
Absolutely,
it's going to be great. All right, we look forward to another fantastic week of basketball. There's nothing going on in other basketball this week. We're going to stay focused on the NBA.
Oh, Bontemps covers colleges now. He was hanging out in Kansas City eating bad barbecue.
I know, Bontemps. You were at. I can't believe. Thank you for mentioning this.
Yeah,
we have it. Bontemps went to the Big 12 tournament for 3 days.
I did.
Where everybody else in the NBA was there.
I saw 20 lead executives in person at the games. Might have been more. It was everybody was there.
What about the LED court that was abandoned midway through?
It was a disaster. I've known Brett Yormark for a long time. Brett Yormark was the CEO of the Nets for
commissioner
over a
of the Big
decade.
12.
He's now the commissioner of the Big 12. He's the guy who 20 years ago in I think it might have been the year they won 12 games at Izod Center at the Meadowlands when he did the reversible jersey promotion where it was all these jerseys of the star players on the other teams coming to play the Nets that they were handing out for all these games. He has never been shy about promotional things, and they did this promotional thing. The crazy thing about it is the Big 12 tournament had as much NBA talent as there's been in a conference tournament in probably since there were 8 teams playing in the league, because they're in the semifinals on Friday. There might have been 20 guys who will play in the league playing across the 4 teams. And it's by far the best conference of basketball this year. And then they do this LED screen court where guys are slipping and sliding all over the place. This poor kid, Christian Anderson, who's going to probably be a top 20 pick in the draft this year, hurts his groin in the game. Hopefully he's not out for the tournament. So then they changed it back for the semifinals and the finals. The craziest part about it was I didn't even realize it because we were sitting courtside, but the court was a foot higher when it was the LED court because they had all this cushioning and stuff in. So it became way easier to see because the court literally was down a foot. So the people in front were just way lower. But yeah, made for a wild couple of days viewing wise. But the games were great, and it was good to see a lot of people from the league, many of whom commented on the podcast. We got many listeners in the league, so shout out to them.
Shout out to Doris Burke, by the way, who gave the podcast a shout out and specifically mentioned me and only me by name. Shout out, Doris.
Any other shout outs, Jackson? Do you have any shout outs you want? Mark, any shout outs? Anybody praise you? Anybody say anything nice to you at the grocery store? All right. Thank you very much to Mark and Jackson and for putting this sucker together. Thank you so much to MacMahon and Bontemps. Another great week of tremendous content coming your way. And thank you for listening and watching the Hoop Collective.
Adios, amigos.